Buongiorno a tutti, un saluto a tutti i colleghi che ci ascoltano in diretta streaming sul canale YouTube dell'Ordine degli Avvocati di Roma. L'evento di oggi è molto particolare ed è organizzato dalla Commissione Diritto Europeo Internazionale e devo ringraziare in particolare il collega Sergio Castagna come componente della Commissione Diritto Europeo Internazionale che ha promosso questo corso. Quindi quello di oggi e anche poi il 23 giugno sono due proprio corsi veri e propri di Legal English a cura del professor dottor Michael Boyd e della dottoressa Ida Zadotti, che ringrazio proprio per la disponibilità, proprio per apprendere, anche per avere qualche indicazione, qualche approfondimento proprio dell'inglese giuridico-legale. Sappiamo quanto sia importante oggi nella professione avere comunque una conoscenza dell'inglese giuridico, in particolar modo, di quanto sia diverso comunque l'inglese giuridico rispetto tante volte a quella che è la conoscenza dell'inglese diciamo così più discorsivo. E quindi l'abbiamo pensato con la Commissione Diritto Europeo Internazionale e grazie all'aiuto del collega Sergio Castagna di poter offrire ai professionisti un paio di incontri che ci daranno delle piccole pillole di Legal English per appunto poter fronteggiare delle occasioni professionali nelle quali potremmo capitare appunto in occasione dei rapporti intrattenuti magari con professionisti stranieri o comunque con altri giuristi stranieri. Detto questo, quindi il primo incontro è oggi e il prossimo, quindi la seconda lezione, sarà il 23 giugno. Detto questo, non mi resta a questo punto che nuovamente ringraziare i relatori e passare la parola al collega Sergio Castagna, tra l'altro ricordandovi che proprio perché si tratta comunque, lo spirito è quello di una lezione ed essendo da remoto, per qualsiasi tipo di domanda o comunque di interazione che potesse essere, che dovesse sorgere nel corso dell'evento, la richiesta cioè quella di poter scrivere sulla chat del canale YouTube. Il collega poi Castagna seguirà diciamo la chat in modo tale che nel momento in cui dovesse diciamo essere necessaria un'interazione sarà possibile farlo attraverso il nostro canale dell'ordine. Quindi grazie e a questo punto non mi resta che passare la parola a Sergio Castagna per introdurre la lezione di oggi. Un saluto e buon pomeriggio.
Allora, vai, parla Sergio, vai, riparla, sì.
Mi sentite?
Sì.
Mi sentite?
No, devi fare, non devi toccare niente tu. Vai.
Mi sentite? Pronto?
Sergio, ti sentiamo.
Perfetto. Allora, qui si tratta di mettere a punto ogni tanto
non puoi guardare là,
problema tecnico. Allora, ringrazio nuovamente la collega Cristina Tamburro, che è la nostra coordinatrice, e ringrazio anche la sensibilità del Consiglio per aver accolto con entusiasmo questa mia proposta. Inutile ribadire l'importanza oggi di un corso di Legal English, visto che un po' tutti i colleghi, anche se non necessariamente come dire, versati nelle materie internazionalistiche, però abbiamo un po' tutti bisogno di estendere i nostri rapporti al di là delle Alpi e quindi ben venga un corso soprattutto con dei teachers di assoluto rilievo, con una grande esperienza in materia. Quindi ringrazio nuovamente il Consiglio dell'Ordine e non posso che ringraziare tra l'altro la EGIC, questo istituto Euro Gulf Information Center, che ci accoglie nella persona del presidente Mitchell Beffer, al quale lascio la parola per un saluto anche a tutti i colleghi. Prego.
Thank you. I hope everybody can hear me okay.
But I think the sound is coming from my computer. So.
You're able to hear me okay?
Okay.
So all great stories begin with once upon a time. And I think that it's important also to say once upon a time, there was a period in which legal structures as well as scholars were very confined to very small spaces. And being confined to those small spaces meant that they were also limited in their impact. But thankfully, those days are behind us. And I think looking forward, not only on this, not only using these technologies, but also looking forward at how migration has worked, not only in terms of labor migration, but ideas migration, has brought us into a very new space. And I'm so happy as the founder and president of the Eurogulf Information Center here in Rome to do a small contribution, at least to provide a little bit of space so that in legal terms, you can develop a much wider network. And, you know, I know that the course specializes in English for law because it's such a specialized language. And once you learn that language, the access and accessibility is much wider. And it's exactly the kind of mission that we have here at the Eurogulf Information Center, to find ways to build bridges between people and organizations and civilizations, in fact, that sometimes don't have those mechanisms. And so it really fits our mandate wonderfully. And for all of you who are out there somewhere in cyberspace, you have a friend here in Rome in the top of Piazza di Spagna. And on behalf of all of the staff and all of our colleagues at the Eurogulf Information Center, we wish you good luck in your program today and going forward. And we really hope that one day we can also see you in present form here. Okay, we couldn't get 600 of you into this room. It would be you know, a sardine can. But nonetheless, maybe in smaller groups, we can also arrange to do something in small groups here in Rome. So we really wish you good luck, success, and I will turn you over back to the chair of today. So thank you from us here in EGEC in Rome.
Ok, thank you again, Mr. Buffer. And ora io presenterò, anche se avrete già letto dalla locandina, lo staff degli insegnanti, dei teachers. Abbiamo il professor dottor Michael Boyd, professore a contratto presso l'Università degli Studi Internazionali di Roma UNINT, lettore di madrelingua inglese dell'Università degli Studi Roma 3, esperto linguista, docente di lingua giuridico-legale inglese e tra l'altro autore del libro che poi ci assisterà sul Legal English, quindi già un'esperienza che ha già trovato anche un riscontro di uno scritto che ci guiderà poi nel corso appunto di questi incontri. Abbiamo poi la dottoressa Ida Zadotti, anche lei professoressa a contratto dell'Università degli Studi Internazionali di Roma UNIT, interprete e traduttrice per la lingua inglese presso il Ministero della Giustizia e la Corte di Cassazione, quindi anche lei versata in materie giuridiche dal punto di vista professionale. Volevo aggiungere, prima di cedere la parola e entrare nel merito, ecco, innanzitutto usciamo dal territorio italiano adesso, entriamo in un territorio inglese, quindi d'ora in poi cercheremo di privilegiare la lingua inglese e così anche eventualmente tutte le domande, richieste di chiarimenti che sicuramente avrete da rivolgere ai nostri teachers, sarebbe bene rivolgerle in lingua inglese. Questo mi chiedevano anche i teachers, in modo da entrare in un rapporto equilibrato e anche più, come dire, propedeutico a quello che sarà il corso successivamente. Quindi io cederei la parola a questo punto ai teachers, chi prego di intervenire. Prego.
Okay, hello everyone. And so you can just call me Michael. Don't worry, you don't have to use that complicated title. I'm American, and we're used to using first names, right? So you can call me Michael, just like I'm sure Ida doesn't mind.
Ida, you can call me Ida.
Right? And it's part of, let's say, American, also university culture. Now, you just heard somebody speak. That was Mitchell. That was speaking. Mitchell was speaking, right? And sorry, there's two people who work here. I was confused between the two people, but Mitchell probably was speaking very fast for you. Don't worry, that's normal. We understand that it can be difficult to understand people when they're speaking. Now, I'm going to start sharing some slides with you so we can look at, I want to share this and this. 1 second, and I'm going to share, yes, 1 second. And so you should be able to see that. Sergio, can they see that now? Can you see that on my slides? Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is, we don't need our introductory slide, right? But this, we had another short introduction to the course in December, and we talked about the format of the course, but we thought it might be a good idea to review, right, what we're planning for the course when we start. It's a 10-week course, and you should have a B2 level, right? A B2 level. And if you understand me now, then you probably have a B2 level at least, right? It's a blended format, so there will be 2 lessons a week. One will be face-to-face, the other will be online. The day is to define, that was just an example. Ida and I are both mother tongue speakers. We speak Italian too, so don't worry. It's a multi-skills course: reading, listening, speaking, grammar, vocabulary, and we do legal English and general English, right? Because legal English is based on general English. And so obviously we need to review, as we will see today, we need to review, for example, the present tenses, right? And so we will do that as well too. And there, if the first course goes well, the second course will be available too with other topics, okay?
Yeah, more specific, right?
Yes,
We said.
more specific topics. I will introduce the book. Okay, so the book that we will be using is a book that I wrote a few years ago. It's now in the 2nd edition, and that will be part of the course, right? You will receive a copy of the book as part of your registration for the course. And this book is based on the communicative approach to learning. And the level is B1 plus B2, right? Even higher. There's reading, listening, comprehension that are based on authentic materials, and a lot of work on vocabulary, which is one of the most important things. I think I'll ask Ida to,
something?
Yes.
Just the idea of the course is to allow. Sorry?
The picture,
is to allow you to speak and talk about even the Italian legal and judicial system in English, right? Because obviously you're all lawyers, and so you know everything about the law, but maybe you have some issues conveying or talking about things that concern your legal system in English. For example, let's take l'ordinamento giuridico, okay? So how do you say ordinamento giuridico in English?
Good question.
Can someone answer, please?
In the chat, maybe somebody can answer us in the chat and write.
I'm sure you all know.
Nobody at the moment.
No one has answered. Okay.
I
will answer. It's legal system. Okay? Whereas the system of courts, l'ordinamento giudiziario, so the system of courts, is called judicial system. So we have, this is the first thing you have to learn. Legal, Giuridico, so the system of laws, okay, that govern everything we do. And judicial system is the system of courts that interpret the law. Okay.
Somebody also answer legal order.
Legal, fantastic. Yes. Also,
but not order.
Yes, you can say order.
Oh.
Yes, you can
say
say legal system or legal order. Okay, that's very, very good. I don't know, who was it? Give me his name or her name.
If she wants to communicate her name, please.
No, No,
Like me?
No, it should be on the name of the chat. When she
Okay.
left the name, but that's okay. Don't worry.
that's okay. So, so it's to help you be able to talk to English-speaking people. It could be British, American, but also Dutch, okay, Belgian. It's a language, English is a language that allows you to communicate with everyone.
So we gave you the example. If you look at the slide, right? How do you introduce yourself and talk about your job to somebody at a party, right? That's something, I'm sure it's happened, right? So somebody says to you, what do you do, right? Ida, what do you do?
I teach.
Okay, I teach. Okay. Sergio, what do you do?
I'm a lawyer.
I'm a lawyer, right? I'm a lawyer, right? Very good. So what are the differences between being, oh, I'm a lawyer too. I practice law in the United States and you practice in Italy. Let's compare. What are the differences, right? So, okay, what area of law do you specialize in, right? Or you need to make a phone call in English, right? You call somebody.
Or write a letter.
Or write a letter in email, most likely, yes.
Okay, an email.
Yes, but yeah, okay, very good. Okay, and so those are the types of things. Now, let's just stop for a minute. And I'm wondering, how many of you understand most of what we are saying? Give us a
Are you
thumbs up
following?
in the chat. In the chat, give us a thumbs up if you understand.
Are you following?
We hope you're following. I'm not going to say, what are they saying? Certo, good.
Big
Okay.
heart.
Oh.
That's fantastic.
Okay, good. Okay. So the idea, is to try to follow us. If you don't understand, you can even ask a question in Italian if you need to. Don't worry. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is just a slide that we showed in the last presentation that we gave. And so learning English is all about, or learning a language is all about communication. So a lot of the things you can do with learning a language are included here. So you can write something, you can send an email, you can chat with somebody, you can read a website, you can listen to the news, you can listen to a podcast about a legal case in the United States or in Great Britain or in any other place in English, right? You can read. And our lessons are based on that type of thing. Just quickly, should we review the topics that we're planning to cover in the first course?
Yes.
Okay, you can do that, Ida.
Sorry, where's the slide? Oh, here
Okay,
it is.
Yeah. Or you can look right up there and you can get right there.
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start from scratch. That is, obviously, as lawyers, you know everything about sources of law. But again, can you talk about sources of law in English? So we're going to start with sources of law,
which are very different from the sources of law in Italy and in Europe in general.
Exactly, in common law countries like the UK or the United States or even Australia, right?
And even to some degree, South Africa, half and half, or to some degree, other countries that use a kind of mixed system like Canada, right?
So we're going to teach you how to say things in English, and we're going to give you a sample of that today with the part of the sources of law in Italy, okay? Then we are going to talk about the structure of the courts. So in Italy, you have the first instance court, tribunale. How can you say that in English to make yourself understood? Or how do you say assize court, la Corte d'Assise? Or how do you say appeal court? And things like that. What kind of judges do you have, or do we have? How do you become a judge?
Or a prosecutor.
Or a prosecutor. Things are completely different depending on each state. So we're going to teach you that as well. And then the proceedings. How does a trial work in Italy? How can I explain this to an English-speaking person? How does a trial work in the United States
or in England and Wales,
Yeah.
right? We will give you many examples, right? This is not a course about comparative law, right? We are teaching you how to compare legal systems, right? And how to be able to talk about your own system in English. And to do that, you need to be able to compare the system. You need to
you need
understand,
the vocabulary.
and you
right?
need the vocabulary, which is the thing that makes legal English so difficult, right? Even for me, so my background, I have no background in law. I studied linguistics. I now teach English and English linguistics, and just by chance, I started teaching legal English. And I had to study a lot. I mean, in every time I teach, I learn something new, because as you know, even in Italian, the language that you use in the law is very different from the language that you use in other areas, right? And in English, this difference is even greater for historical reasons, right? So the historical reasons and the development of English and the very strong influence of French, I wish, of French and Latin, right, on English law in its early development influence the language. Yes,
So,
Sergio.
okay, I have some question.
Okay.
Maybe if you prefer one by one.
Yes, if they have to do with what we're saying, yes, let's answer them now.
Okay, they want the difference between lawyer, counsel, advocate, and attorney.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that would be good, and I don't think we'll talk about that now. But
we can explain.
we can
very
explain it.
briefly.
We're going to give you some specific examples, right? But basically, in the United States, you can be a lawyer, you can be an attorney at law, and it's the same thing, right?
Let's say that lawyer is a general term.
Yes,
Okay.
especially for the United States, but
Exactly.
but also in
But-
Britain.
For example, in the UK, you have a counsel and a barrister. What is the difference? A
A
counsel.
solicitor and a barrister.
Sorry,
Yeah, you
solicitor
said
and a
the-
barrister. A barrister is someone who will assist you during the trial,
Yes, and a solicitor usually doesn't, right?
and a solicitor doesn't.
But counsel, for example, is as Ida said, a very general word too, and it's used in the courtroom. Advocate as well is also a more general word, and it has a more general meaning. But in the courtroom, we can find it, right? But these are the type of things.
And then you have also, just to complete the thing, a defense counsel, which is a general term to talk about a lawyer in a criminal proceeding. Okay, we use it a lot because I work for the Ministry of Justice, and I work for a department, for an office that deals with extraditions, letters of request, transfer of sentenced persons, and we have to, I've been working there for 30 years, and it has taught me to find a way of making the Italian system comprehensible to a foreigner. It could be a Romanian authority, it could be a Bulgarian authority, it could be the United States, it could be the UK. The UK, let me tell you, they're terrible. They're really terrible. Okay. So it's a question of finding a way of communicating. Communication is everything. Okay.
But back to the question about the vocabulary, the differences, those are the types of things that we will talk about when the actual course begins. And, different lessons, different types of vocabulary will come up. And these are the type of things that are very important to understand. And that was an excellent question. But if you want to generally, if somebody says to you, what do you do? And you're a lawyer, say, I'm a lawyer. That's the easiest way to answer. You can say attorney and people would understand you. It's very, very similar. I would avoid the use of solicitor and barrister, though, because solicitor and barrister are very specific to the English system. Notice I say English because there are different systems of law in the UK, and one is England and Wales. And there, the distinction between solicitor and barrister is very important. But since that distinction doesn't exist in Italy for the most part, it's better just to use a general word, right? And then explain, right? So we'll see that we don't always have a one-to-one correspondence because the systems are different.
Michael said something which is really important. Things do not correspond with common law system. So, for example, when I have to talk about a lawyer, I always put in my translations, defense counsel, comma, avvocato.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I leave the Italian, dot, av, dot, and then the name. I always do that because an Italian lawyer is different from an English lawyer, okay? Even how you become a lawyer is different.
This on the same side too, not just a lawyer, but then we have the prosecutors too, if we're dealing with criminal proceedings, right? Okay. So even that in itself is very interesting. And as you know, also in Italy, even the fact that there is a common, let's say, study path for prosecutors and judges is different from actually other European countries too. So it's important to remember these distinctions. Can we move on from the topics?
Okay. So just to complete the topics of the introductory course, so we're going to deal with criminal justice and the proceedings, obviously. And then we're going to do a bit of civil procedure.
Which is fun too. I like
torts and contracts in super general way. Okay. And contracts will be part of the second course.
Because it really is much more advanced as a topic. So, we'll start with a kind of general introduction. And then in the second, say, more advanced course, we will look at certain types of language in more detail.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, am I speaking fast?
Yeah.
We have questions.
A new question.
Okay.
She asked, in Italy, we can use lawyer if we are not a company lawyer. In that case, maybe it would be better counsel. She thinks.
And what do you mean a company lawyer?
A corporate lawyer.
A corporate lawyer. It should be you can write in the chat, actually, corporate lawyer if you want, so they see it. They will see corporate lawyer. Yeah, we would say, if you're not a corporate, no. If you're if you practice law as
counsel is
okay. Yeah, I would prefer. I mean, as I don't know. I like. Yeah, counsel is okay, but I think for the general public, I think that lawyer is more understandable, right? So in your case, when you're dealing with official documents, counsel. But I think general public, they might not understand what you mean by counsel. And every day, a person who's not an expert in legal English. Right, that's one of the issues of legal language.
Well, in criminal law, defense counsel is used a lot. Okay, a lot.
Yeah, but defense counsel is good when we're dealing with the specific case.
Oh,
but when you say what you do, you wouldn't say I'm defense counsel. No,
you
would say I'm a lawyer. So the question here is, you're as a profession, right? You're a lawyer, but
in-house counsel. Yes, in-house means that you are employed by the company, okay?
So, I think the issue here, the difference between counsel and lawyer, this is not something we were planning to talk about in great detail, and it's a very specific distinction, okay? So, but counsel makes more reference to the actual case that you're dealing with. So if, for example, Renato Conti just asked, shouldn't it be in-house counsel instead? Yes, you can say that. But you're at, let's say you're at kind of informal proceedings, or maybe there's some type of, what's it called? The alternative dispute resolution, right? And you introduce yourself to your colleague. You can say, okay, I'm the in-house counsel, or in that context. But if you're at a party, this is just our example. You can be any place else. You could be, traveling the country. You can be driving a car and talking to somebody. It doesn't matter. But if somebody asks you, what do? You say, I am a lawyer, right? You would not say, I am in-house counsel in that case, because it's not general enough. Okay, and I think at this point, that's enough about counsel.
So
that's from the advanced course.
We are all lawyers.
Yeah.
Then, depending on the specialization, there are other terms.
Well, no. Like
you are
Italy,
all.
You in Italy, you're all lawyers, right? Okay.
So
In England, for example, it depends if you go to trial. If you go to court, then you have an additional qualification, which is being a barrister.
And actually, the training is different. So you train to be a solicitor and a barrister in a different way. But in Italy, if you have a law degree and you have passed the bar exam and you practice law, you're a lawyer. Corporate lawyer, in-house lawyer, divorce lawyer. I mean, there are many different types. You can specify, or an employment lawyer, right? I mean,
for example, may I say I am a criminal lawyer?
Yes, a criminal lawyer. Yes, if you want to specify it, yes, I'm a civil lawyer.
And I wanted to add this to the chat. Barristers can be chosen. Now we have the king in the UK by the king to become judges.
Yes, just to kind of throw that at them. Yes.
Okay. And the king now, not the queen. We have to get used to saying king, not queen.
If we have, well, I don't know why we have to talk about it. Yes.
Okay.
Proudly American.
Okay.
So, I think there are many reasons that English, in the meantime, since we've been speaking, you've been able to look at this slide, right? And some of the reasons why legal English might be difficult, but I don't want to spend too much time on this. But I think it would be more interesting.
There is another
question.
Not a question, it's my question.
Okay.
Be also amusing. False friends.
We're going to get to false friends. Don't worry. We will get to false friends.
We have a slide on.
We have a slide. We will get there. That's why we didn't want to. We will get to false friends in a minute. But first of all, we wanted to just briefly tell you about the different legal cultures, right? And I've given you a bit of a slide on the slide. I hope you can read those. But there are some basic characteristics, right, Ida, between common and civil law that we should.
I hear nothing when Avvocato Castagna is speaking.
Come sit here, Cedra, and move your computer.
It would be better to say, I don't hear anything. Okay, I'm going to write this. I don't. I would say, I can't.
Yeah, it's better can't. With here, I can't hear
anything when blah, 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 blah. Okay, I can't hear anything when
it's not
Avvocato Castagna is. Ooh.
Can you hear me now?
There's something going on. There's a verifica, I think, something.
Yes, this is verifica. Okay, I was asking before to Michael to let us know something about false friends that could be also amusing, but he answered me. We will.
Don't ruin the surprise, Sergio.
Okay,
so
I was spoiling.
So we wanted to talk about common law. You obviously know what common law is. The common
obviously.
Law, obviously, you're lawyers, so you have certainly studied it. But the idea is for you to talk about it in English. So I'm asking, what are the main characteristics of common law countries? Now, can you write something on the chat? No?
Now?
Is it too much? Yeah, now.
Yeah, right.
In English.
No, they need to write. You don't have to.
I need to understand.
Can you write something?
Write something about, characteristics about common law.
Okay, let's see if you can write and talk about common law characteristics.
Ok.
What is going on? I think they're checking who's present or
It
who's
has nothing
absent.
to do with
Yeah,
it.
it's nothing to do with us.
Maybe I
Okay.
didn't understand what Ida is asking me to write on.
No,
You
no,
can
I'm
write
asking
anything, they
our
do.
students
Don't say do.
Ah, okay.
Don't worry.
to tell us about some characteristics of common law countries.
She's asking for
We'll see. All we see is numbers that everybody has. That's the what is that?
What are the main features of common law countries? The president. Okay, fantastic. Luca Gizzi, fantastic. Yes. And how can we say that? We can talk about judges being not only decision makers, so I'm going to write that.
You're not you to click on.
No, decision makers, but they are also lawmakers.
Right, case law is another good one.
Yeah, lawmakers.
No, you're not in the thing. You're not in the chat box again.
Oh, sorry. So you can use these expressions to be lawmakers. They create the law. And what about the Italian system?
No, sorry. Somebody wrote, okay, case law
Common law is a case law.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
is based
Based.
on case law, right? So common law is based on case law. Now, how do you say
the Italian
case law in Italian?
The
I want somebody to
Italian
write it.
system is also based on the case law of the Supreme Court of Cassation, right? So what is the difference? Answer
I
that
didn't answer
question.
my question first.
Oh, sorry.
Case law, right? It's a good example of a false friend, right? Case law is giurisprudenza in Italian, and jurisprudence in English means something very different. It means the philosophy of law.
Have problems.
It's possible the slides have. I don't know what. No, I'm not going to get.
Okay, let's see what he has answered. Judge made law that is binding on subsequent decisions to extent they are made by a recognized court. Okay, recorded in an official record and applying a rule of law in an innovative interpretation. Yes, but what is the difference between we have case law, the Supreme Court of Cassation has case law. What is the difference? Can you answer that? Oh, at least we have it into.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. So can you answer that question? It's a
Anybody.
bit slow.
Yeah.
But anyway, at least.
And one thing, while we're waiting for an answer, now, we had the word precedent, right? Notice the pronunciation, it's written there, precedent, right? Precedent,
Sorry.
wait a sec, precedent versus president, right? The president of the United States. And the common law system is based on case law or precedent.
What is going on?
Just go back, click back, go back. I knew it. Okay. So case law is based, just click back the back thing. I think you have to do a screen. Okay, yeah, you've got that. Okay. So in precedent, and yes, we saw that Renato wrote something very good. I can't read it now because we lost the screen for a minute. But
He's saying the binding nature of common law.
Binding is vincolante, right? So
okay. So the case law of the Supreme Court instead is not binding. Well, in a way it is, isn't it?
Yes, in a certain way.
Because once you get to the Supreme Court.
But the Supreme Court could also change.
Yeah, but it's,
this idea.
I have heard use the term authoritative. Authoritative. Okay, the case law of the Supreme Court, is authoritative, which means that you are strongly advised to follow. Okay, let me send it.
So the written plus specific, they're talking about the sources of law, right?
Is it possible to receive the slides, Sergio?
Yeah, we'll see. We will talk about it. I don't know, through on this platform, it's not possible.
Can you put this on
Yeah, I think we will talk about it and let you know about the slides. But why do you need the slides? Because you can't see things at home, or what's the problem?
to keep them, maybe.
Yeah, okay. I would prefer not at the moment because they're not, maybe we'll do a definitive version and make them available.
Sorry?
No,
No, it's
this is
okay.
good here.
Okay.
Because the
I would
problem is,
like the slides. How can this be done? Okay.
Yeah.
Italian Supreme Court decisions are only binding when redressing there to a lower court. Yes, you're right. When they are referring, you can say referring the case back to a lower court. Yes.
okay, I think we're getting into much detail though. We need to
Yeah.
move on. Okay, so I think we'll move on at this point because, obviously there are many of you out there. Your levels of English will be different and your knowledge of the legal system will be different. So don't be intimidated if somebody knows an answer and you don't know an answer. That's okay. And, in a classroom, there will be a limited number of people, obviously. We won't have 200 people following the same class. So, and that will give a chance for everybody to speak, okay? I think I'd just move on from that, and then I would go on and look at a grammar example for the question. Those are too specific, those questions.
Okay, you want to do the grammar?
Yeah, I can do the grammar. So, okay, now, many of you are higher than B2 level. We know that, we understand, but you still need to review grammar, right? Grammar is something, there are certain forms in English, right? Like why am I saying that? Oh, there it is. It's a little bit slower. Oh, sorry. There's a little bit of lag. It's a bit slow. And this is the slide I was talking about. Now, so grammar is important, especially certain differences, right, between Italian and English. So in English, there's the present simple and the present continuous. And in Italian, right, you say it's the same thing, right? I do, faccio, or whatever. And present continuous, I am doing, sto facendo, right? But it's not really the case because the distinction between present simple and present continuous in English is very, very important. And most places you cannot use the same two forms. So if we look at examples, right? So look at the first one. Judge Austin works in Rome. Okay, maybe we should have said works in London, but yes, okay. And at present is working on a high-profile case concerning two thieves, right? So Judge Austin works in Rome is present simple, right? And we use the present simple because this is a habitual action or a state that lasts over time, right? So works, it's his job, he or her job. We don't know. Austin is a last name, so it could be a woman too, right? And we don't know if Austin is a woman or a man, right? Whereas the second example, right? The second part of the phrase, at present, right? So in questo momento, so we're specifying rather than permanent, we're looking at something that's temporary, right? So at present sets up a field for this idea that something that is temporary. So at present, she is working on a high profile case concerning two thieves. In the second example, there's only the present continuous, because the temporal adverbial phrase at the moment tells us that, okay, at the moment could be in questo momento or attualmente. It could be either one in Italian, right? So Judge Austin is working late at night at the moment, so he can get through the excessive workload that has been assigned to him in the last few weeks. So here, the sentence sets up a limited time period. So we're thinking about a limited time period, and we use the present continuous to do this. There are other uses of the present continuous in English, but these are particularly interesting for legal English. We can also use the present continuous for the future, right? Something that is programmed for the future, right? We could use it. But we thought, as part of kind of a fun activity, we thought we would have you guys do at home, right? We thought you would do a couple of exercises, and these are some exercises from the book, right? Try to complete, right, the exercises here. So 1 to 5, you notice that there's, after the space, right, there is a verb that's in the infinitive or the basic form, right? And you need to conjugate that form in either the present simple or the present continuous, okay? So I would ask the Regia, because I see right now there is a problem that we cannot see the left-hand side of my slide. So, okay, there's a problem. I don't see the full thing of the slide, right? And of course, this, in the classroom, you would all have the book, and you would be able to look at this at the book, in the book, but we can't do that now. Also the slides, I mean, this is, you know, we can't really send you the slides now, and I don't know how we can do it, but we can maybe figure out how to do it. So there, now, can everybody see that? Right? Can you see the, this exercise? Somebody answered. Can you see
nobody answered.
So that means you can see it. Complete the blanks, complete the gaps. Okay.
Not Pepper, you hear nothing. What does that mean?
I think that
They can't hear.
I don't know. Annalisa, everything okay then?
Yes, we can.
Okay, do
Okay.
the exercises. Do the exercises.
So do the exercise, and we're going to.
And complete with either present simple or present continuous. No, after. Tell them to write on the chat after.
Do we need to write the answer on the chat? No. Do it at home, then we will write the answers and we, no, basta.
Okay, so take a minute to do this. We're going to be quiet. Do it.
My father is a judge right now. He is working on a very they're writing it on the chat.
Don't write the answers on the chat. Wait. Write them on a piece of paper. Like this at home. And then we do it on the chat. Yes.
Then we'll do it on the chat.
Don't, yeah. Then we'll write it on the chat, but write on a piece of paper.
No, this, have you tried this?
No, I'm afraid.
You're afraid of what? Of not stopping?
Yeah.
Oop. It's fabulous. Can I have another one?
Sure.
I have have so much fun doing lessons to experts because, you know, to students, you have to explain everything. Instead, to lawyers or judges, they explain things to you. You just have to help them, you know, with the language part. Oh, they can hear us.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I have fun working with practitioners.
Did we interrupt them when they're doing that? Okay, have a good struggle. We'll give you a couple more minutes so everybody has time. Potrebbe arrivare qualcuno, la mia amica, che si chiama Rachel, se dovesse suonare, chi è che risponde? Ok, va bene.
Ok, un piccolo break per consentirvi di mettere a punto, di completare questa pagina, poi riprenderemo. Credo che questo dialogo attraverso la chat stia funzionando. Notiamo.
Ok, il problema è che non riuscivo ad andarci, quindi adesso adesso, ok. So everybody, I don't know if everybody had a chance to finish, right? But that's no, I need to go back to I can't get back to the screen. Okay. Just a second, stop sharing. I'm going to reshare at this point. But it doesn't matter if you didn't have time. I will now share with you the slides again, and we will go through the answers, right? 1 second. Let's see if anybody's asking.
What happens? No, we don't. Do we have to write down all the answers?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was pretty, I thought that was pretty obvious, but yes, don't worry.
Okay. Now, Michael is going to tell you the right answer.
So, no, wrong one. So, my father, and we saw that somebody wrote the right answer on the chat. Maybe some of them wrote. My father is a judge, right now. So, right, at this moment. He is working on a very complicated case involving child abuse. You want to do the second one? Well, maybe. Laura and Francesco are taking the TOEFL, which is an English language level test that you need to do for some universities, mainly North American universities, to enter. So is taking the TOEFL next week. Notice we don't say TOEFL, but the TOEFL next week, right? And notice this is a form of the future, right? Because they want to apply to study in the United States. They are thinking of doing the one-year law course at NSU in Florida, right? So it's a university in Florida in which you can do a one-year law course to be qualified in the United States. And it's also a program at Roma 3 where I work in the law faculty, though not in my faculty. Hello, is Amy there?
No, she isn't. She is at the university. She is attending a lecture. Usually,
It's negative.
she doesn't go to class on Wednesdays, but this week she is having lessons. No, this week she's having, no, she has, sorry, I haven't done this before. She has lessons every day because there's every day.
Yeah.
So you have to use a simple present.
She has, but this week she has.
Lessons.
I mean, it wouldn't be terrible she is having, because if maybe usually she doesn't, but she has. There are certain verbs that you generally don't use the progressive continuous forms, right? And that's something we will talk about in the course, right? It's something that we will review because it's an important distinction. So I am really nervous about going to class tomorrow. I am studying every day, or in this case, I study every day, but I don't feel as if I'm sufficiently prepared if the professor decides to question me, right? So in this case, you could say I am studying every day, depending on if you want to stress that the action is limited in time. So I am studying every day. And that means I am studying every day, but usually I don't, right? So it's a temporary, right? Temporaneo, it's a temporary activity, right? But you can also say study if you think it is a more permanent one, okay? Permanent activity. Where is John? Or you want to ask a question?
He's in the library. He is studying for his test in criminal law.
Poor him.
Ah, poor thing. The professor
And it's got usually, so be careful.
usually gives them 4 hours, my God, to answer 5 essay questions. I hope he does better this time, because last time he almost failed.
Okay, so yes.
What do you want to say about that?
Okay, I saw that there's on the chat. I didn't write down all the answers. We know this, we can't, as we say, there are 200 of you. So it's very hard for us to interact with every single one of you. And if you didn't finish writing them, that's okay. This is a kind of introductory practice lesson. It's not a full lesson, right? And
to show you what type of things we're going to do.
Yes, to give you kind of some background, an idea, right? And we do have some more of these to do, but I think at this point we should move on. What do you think? It's 4 o'clock.
We have a full hour.
So let's do one more slide then, okay? Let's do this slide here, right? And you need to complete once again the gaps, and we will give can we have okay Number 4.
I
Sorry,
have been studying every day.
Yes, you can say I have been studying every day in number 4 here, but as I was making the slide, I forgot to put the directions, but the directions were put these sentences in the present simple or the present continuous. So have been studying, right, every day would be perfect, but I didn't ask for the present continuous, the present perfective continuous. So it's right, but it's not really right to answer these questions. And when we were telling you to do the activities, we told you then to use either present simple or present continuous. So I think since some people didn't finish, I think we should give you more time to do the next set, right? So we have 4 more. And in this case, one of the sentences has to deal with torts, right? And you still can't see it. It takes a minute for the, I've switched slides and I'm waiting for you to be able to see the next slide. I don't know why you can't see it yet. Okay, no, then I've switched slides, Regia, so if you can go to the next slide. No, I don't think you need to do anything. Okay, yes. Now we see, I think you're following the wrong one, Sergio. That's why. You need to follow that one where you were. You need to follow, what's that? No, where was this one? Yeah, no. You need to follow this one with it. Okay. Okay. So you have 5 minutes to complete as many of these gaps as possible, right? I think 5 minutes is enough.
Yeah.
5
Just
minutes.
write down the answers. If it's a simple, it's present simple or a present continuous.
Voi avete Jitsi aperto, uno di voi? Jitsi ce l'hai aperto tu? No. Perché non riesco. Se è, sì, aprilo e mi mute me, please. Che tu non ce l'hai aperto? No, questo non ci serve questo. No, non hai capito una cosa. No, questo. Vai su questo Gypsy. Questo. Sì, vai su quello.
I'm still connected. So
Vai. No, devi solo cliccare su questo blu. Senza poi, sì. E tu sei non sei tu. Allora, lascia perdere. Chiudi quella pancia.
no, poi riesco.
Okay, we should be seeing the slides from the regia, right? We see the slides, right? So I'm going to share with you again. Can they see the slide? Vedono le slide da casa? Okay.
Continua a non sentire. The
Can you
professor-
hear me?
Can you hear us? Please answer.
Can you hear? Regia, voi ci sentite, no? Quindi è un problema loro se non ci sono. Ok.
Si rendono?
Ok. So, potete lasciare lo slide, quello che c'era?
No, they can't hear us.
No, it's not they. Some people can't hear us. I don't, just because one person says no, it means maybe yes. So it's a problem of,
grazie.
that's,
Yes.
I mean, so
Okay.
not Pep has a problem with
Yes,
her
we can.
computer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Now
okay.
it feels what?
Wouldn't it be better if you moved so it was facing towards
Oh,
us? So, I mean, they're looking at us from the side and it seems a bit silly. It seems a bit, yeah, that they can't really. Ok, rifaccio perché ho bloccato lo sharing, però va bene, faccio di nuovo, non è un problema. Okay, now we're going to, okay, I've stopped, now share. Okay, one moment, I'm going to share the screen with you again. I will see a sec, yeah, okay, just a sec. Because we see Sergio. Sergio, get rid of your camera on this, because all we see is you there. And then also the sound there, okay. Just one, okay. Okay, can everybody see that now? Regia, si vede? Okay, so that means you guys should see it. Okay, I will explain, you know, we're not that terrible at technology, but this is a rather complex technological situation in which we see something different than what you see because we're doing it on YouTube. So sorry about the technical glitches, but that's the problem, okay? So in Torts, Torts, what do you think? Torts, in this case, we're talking about a course at the university, right? And so in Torts, we are learning about civil liability. This is when one person, so Torts in this case, we're dealing with a specific course, right? So the course at the university. This is when one person causes harm to a person or another's property. We are also reading an interesting case about affirmative defenses. Sorry, there's a 3 there that shouldn't be there. I do not understand everything about the case, but the professor usually explains such things to us during the class. See if there are any questions, please. Okay. So is that clear? Are there any questions? You can write in the chat to see if there are any questions. Jennifer, thank you. Okay, for telling us. Is there any questions about this? So in torts, we are learning. This is when one person causes. We are also reading. I don't understand everything. The professor usually explains, right? So we get both. My friend Madeline.
Clear.
Clear, okay. So if you, I can't do anything if they don't hear. That's
Anna Palmerini.
don't worry if they say
Yeah.
they can't hear. Don't worry about it because
Can
we
you
can't.
repeat, please?
We cannot do anything if they cannot hear. That's the
Okay.
regia that I can't do anything. So just if they can hear us, but some people have a problem with their computers and they can't hear because of their computers. Okay. Okay. So my friend Madeline works for an English law firm in Milan. This is a true story. She usually deals with mergers and acquisitions.
She asks.
We will answer your questions in a minute. She usually deals with mergers and acquisitions. Right now, she is also doing a pro bono case. She is representing a client who has been accused of industrial espionage. Okay, so in this case, okay, I think 1 and 2, and we had a couple of questions about the first one. Well, the answer is in the actual question. In torts, we're learning about civil liability, right? So a tort, what is the tort?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Tort is the kind of law that deals with civil liability. What is civil liability?
It's a responsibility, but we have a different word for it. I know, we don't.
No. Okay.
Okay.
So civil liability is responsibility.
Responsabilità civile, right? That's a tort is, for example, a malpractice suit. You go to the doctor and you lose sight out of one eye because the doctor, you can say it, yes, because the doctor, this is my friend Rachel, so, because the doctor, right, what made a mistake when he was doing the operation, right? So you decide to sue, right, to go to court to sue the doctor for damages, right? And those damages are part of a tort. Okay, this is something we will look at in one of our lessons, and we will spend an entire week about torts, and we're both looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So should we do 3 and 4? Do you want to do 3 or you want me to do it? You read the questions, I'll do it.
No, you finish this,
Okay.
because then I have all these slides of mine.
Okay.
I have
Most property law cases concern real property and personal property. Both of these concepts derive from the common law. Personal property, which is also known as movable property, refers to anything other than land and can be the subject of ownership. There's a word missing, but we won't worry about that. This includes stocks, money, notes, patents, and copyrights, as well as intangible property. The solicitor is currently, so when you see an adverb like currently or like at the moment, it's a clue. It says to you, we need to use the present continuous here, right? Because you're talking about a temporary action or a temporary event, right? So the solicitor is currently discussing the details of a land title with one of her clients. The client already owns, right? So own is one of those verbs that usually isn't used with the present continuous. So we would expect it to be used with the present simple, but also from the meaning here, we know that own is something that's happening over a long period of time, and it's a permanent idea, right? Already owns a great deal of property, so there are complications. Now, let's see, right? Torts means obbligazioni? No.
Responsabilità civile e da fatto illecito.
Illeciti, right? Illecito also, right?
Yeah.
A tort is illecito, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Something against the law.
Yeah.
but in
Responsabilità civile.
basically, torts is almost everything in civil cases that doesn't have to do with contracts, right? So we have, when there are damages involved, one party the other, and there are many different types of torts, and it's actually a very interesting subject to study, and we will be doing that together. Let's see if they have any questions about
Torts illeciti.
yes.
Ille-
Illecito, okay, yeah, it's also used. Okay,
Illeciti civili. Okay. Civil,
okay.
right? I can't write. Civil.
Okay, so now I don't think we will spend. We are running short on
No, we have
time.
plenty of time.
No, we have 2 more long exercises to do. So
Okay.
I would like to continue with this idea of false friends, right? Which is a really interesting topic because there are a lot of false friends.
You left the old thing.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Okay, here we have some false friends, okay? Now, if I talk of sentenza in Italian, what would you call a sentenza in English?
Sergio?
No.
Oh,
They have to
okay.
write. Our students have to write. Please write on the chat. They all want the slide.
We can't do anything right now. You'll have to wait. Sorry.
So,
Come do the course and you'll get the slides.
don't look it up on, how do you say una sentenza? Can they hear me?
Yeah, they can, of course.
Okay. It's not difficult. Come on.
Maybe it's not
Good. They wrote it.
Oh.
Decision, judgment,
Okay. So,
not a sentence. Very good.
okay. Wait a second. So we have a judgment, which is fine. A decision is fine. An order is not fine. It's
No.
wrong because an order is not a judgment. Okay? It's an order issued by a judicial authority or a prosecutor to do something. Okay? But it is not a judgment. That is a decision at the end of a trial. Okay? Usually orders are issued before the trial, during the investigations, during the trial. They are intermediary in between, before the final decision is made by the judge or panel of judges. Okay, they're all saying judgment. Okay, decision.
Definitely good.
Now, a verdict is something which usually, for example, the jury issues a verdict. So my advice, don't use verdict for judgment, per sentenza, okay? Because a verdict, for example, in the United States, is the decision issued by the jury or the grand jury, okay? But we can't explain that.
No, we can't explain that now, but obviously, in general, it's guilty, not guilty. That's it. So,
Okay.
yes. So, okay. And what about then? How would you say sentence or to sentence? Okay, now we've got it. Yes. Unfortunately, I left the answers on the slide, but that's okay, right? To sentence somebody, right? You, for example, the criminal, right, was accused of, the suspect was accused of killing his wife, and after he was found guilty. He was found guilty, and he was sentenced by the judge to life in prison.
Okay. So
he was sentenced to life in prison or life imprisonment, right? So
okay. And remember that in the Italian system, the court or the judge or the panel of judges at the end of a trial decides the guilt or innocence of a person but also decides the punishment. That is the Italian system. In common law countries, this process is divided into two parts. Well, the guilt and innocence is decided by a jury in the United States and also in England in certain trials, and the judge only decides the punishment. So, when in Italian we say condannato, è stato condannato alla pena di blah blah, you can't do that in English. You have to say he was held guilty, okay, or convicted, and then you have to say and sentenced to. You have to divide it. Okay, you can't say convicted to a sentence. It's not possible.
Convicted and sentenced.
And sentenced
to. And we talk about
fine or a term of imprisonment, whatever. But you have to divide the two processes.
I know that, I mean, I work a lot with Italian judges, and I've worked with also European judges and on courses where there were barristers and judges from England. And, you know, the European judges, but especially the Italian judges, are always surprised, especially in criminal trials, at how little the judge has to write, right? They don't have to write they don't have to come up with these long explanations, right? And one thing that they very often have to write are their remarks when they give a sentence, right? And these are called sentencing remarks. Sentencing, we're writing it in the chart, right? And the chat. Sentencing remarks, and it's one of those cases when, you know, a judge would have to write something, but usually a couple pages, I think, or 3 pages. So that's also a difference in the system.
Well, when a judge decides a sentence, it's the time when he considers the character of the offender, prior convictions, for example, how the offense was committed, if there are any aggravating circumstances or mitigating circumstances.
Very good, yes.
Okay, so the judge, the sentencing judge, because that's what it's called, he's called sentencing judge.
Wait, you made a mistake before you.
Oh, sorry.
Just put return. You don't have to do it. You don't have to. If you
Okay.
do return, it will come up. Didn't do it. I think if you do this, it should work.
I didn't.
No, it doesn't work.
Okay. So the sentencing judge takes all these circumstances into consideration and issues a sentence. Okay?
Okay. Sorry. Okay. The problem with the technology that we're using, because I'm now looking at the live stream, and what we see on your live stream is later. So we may be out of phase with your questions and
Low battery.
yes.
Can you
Yeah.
recharge somehow? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, another important aspect is revisione costituzionale. Now, what comes to mind is, let's put constitutional review. But constitutional review means something completely different, because in Italian revisione costituzionale means changing part of the constitution, and it's a very long process, okay? Whereas constitutional review, what does it mean? I want an answer from you. Batteria?
I'm gonna have to unplug this, I think. I don't think I can do it from this one, right? I can't do it. I have to, yeah. I can do it from the other one.
Okay.
Okay.
Tell me what constitutional review might mean. Any idea? So I'll ask the question again.
You need to
We
give
have-
them a bit more time because of the lag.
Okay. So in Italian it's revisione costituzionale, and you all know what that means, right? You know that it means a process whereby the constitution is changed in part, okay, a part of it, maybe an article or part of an article. Now, in English, you can't say constitutional review because it means something else. What does constitutional, okay, it's something that has to do with the study of the Constitution. No, the evaluation of the constitutionality of laws. Yes. Hey, Alessandro Bartoli. Exactly. Constitutional review is when for example, in the United States, the Supreme Court reviews the constitutionality of an article, of a law, of something, of the statute. In English, if you want to say revisione costituzionale, it's constitutional amendment. Okay? So again, we have a false friend. Constitutional review is not the equivalent of revisione costituzionale. Okay? And I'll leave these two to you.
Okay, the second two are not legal false friends, obviously, but it's an important concept in general when you are learning a foreign language, especially languages that are very close, like in terms of vocabulary, like Italian and English. And so eventually, right, means in the end, right? So we were looking for a place to go for a long time this summer on vacation, and we couldn't find a great place, but we did go to a great place. Eventually, we chose Greece, right? Eventually, in the end, right? So the meaning is that in English. Actually is not attualmente, right? Actually is in reality. How do we say attualmente, Sergio? Attualmente.
At the moment.
At the moment. Very good. At the moment. At
Now.
the moment. Now, right? And we saw this action, right? Attualmente, at the moment, right, is used in very often with the present continuous, right? So these are just some examples, and it's also a very important concept to understand when you're doing legal English, but when you're learning a language in general, you need to understand the importance of false friends, because we have lots of them.
Like someone wrote controllo di legittimità, but in English you don't say legitimacy, but you say legality, the equivalent. So there's another
You need to
false
post return.
Legality.
Yeah. Okay. So this is just an idea of the type of work that we will be doing, right, for false friends. We'll be doing on false friends, and it's something that will come up in every lesson. And I think at this point we wanted to show you one last type, and this is probably the most difficult type of activity to deal with, and this is listening comprehension, right? I think
you got rid of the
listening comprehension. No, I don't know why it's not there. Here it is. You want that one? You want that one?
Yeah, or we don't have time.
Okay, let's go back to these before I move on to the listening. No, we have time. We have time, and we want to say another couple of things about translating and about false friends and finding the right term.
Okay, analizza
Currently is
Cannocchio.
another way to say attualmente.
So you have a slide now, how to say things in English. Again, the concept of being able to express and talk about the Italian system to English-speaking colleagues, maybe, no? Okay, and here we have decreto legge and decreto legislativo, which at the ministry we translate literally because we use decree law and legislative decree. Now, you know exactly what these two are, but try to describe decreto legge and decreto legislativo. Let's forget about riserva di legge.
Okay, let's just do the first two.
Okay, decreto legge and decreto legislativo in English. Let's say you have to explain this to a colleague who does not speak Italian. How would you describe decreto legge, for example, to an English-speaking colleague? Okay, I'll give you a couple of minutes.
And try to write, you know.
Yeah, and if you can write something on the chat.
Yeah, that would be great.
That would be great. And then I'll show you how I would write it. Okay, how I would explain it. They want slides.
Sulla pagina della Jitsi e mi vuoi toccare il suono. Se non mi puoi andare su un po' qua e cliccare su questo silenzio. Okay, we are back. Ok, adesso ritorno perché quando esco si bloccano e riprovo ad andare. I'm going to give you the slides just a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I see that you're saying a lot of nice things. And a decreto legge, I'm going to read some of them, is an urgent law. Well, it's not a law, it's a decree having the force of a law set out by the government, passed maybe, or issued by the government, and is supposed to be checked by Parliament, which must decide whether to confirm it or not. Yes, very good. And if it is not confirmed by Parliament, what happens? Adopted by government in case of urgency. Okay. So if Parliament does not confirm a decree law, what happens? The reserve of law, no. Francesca, decreto legislativo having the force of law, yes, adopted by the government, okay. And if it has to be confirmed, right, by Parliament, within what time range? Can you remember? You should all know that.
Do you remember?
Decree isn't confirmed, it null and void. Okay. It becomes it loses its effectiveness, and both are issued by the government on different bases. Yes, Paolo Arcangeli, yes. What are these different bases? It isn't mandatory anymore. It falls, 60 days, okay.
The government falls, but the law doesn't.
Yeah. The decree becomes invalid. Okay, null and void. It has a function of guarantee towards the citizen, excluding the exercise or regulated power by the government. No. If not confirmed, it loses legal effect. Yes, good. It isn't mandatory any longer. But what about what has been done up till that point? What happens to that? Sergio?
What happened and in what case?
Should a decree law not be confirmed by Parliament, what happens to everything that was done in the 6-month period?
How do you say it is?
No.
Doesn't have effect.
Okay.
No.
It loses its legal
It
effect.
loses legal.
Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to show you.
That?
Okay.
What you want?
Yeah.
You can do it.
Do you want to read it?
No, you can't.
No. Okay. Decree laws are acts of the government having the same force of laws.
Wait 1 second because the slide needs to change. We'll wait 1 second. It takes a minute. And you will soon see the slide. It just takes 1 minute. And okay. You can keep.
So decree laws are acts of the government having the same force of laws that are based on an extreme urgency or need. However, they have to be converted into law by Parliament within 60 days of the date of publication. Otherwise, they become null and void as from the date on which they entered into effect. Or you can say from its inception, which is a fantastic, which means from the beginning, okay, from when it was put to, okay.
Entered into effect or entered into force too?
Yes. Now,
You want me to read it to give you a break? Okay. Legislative degrees, right? When Parliament cannot legislate on a given matter for different reasons, it confers power on the government to make legislation.
through a law which is called an enabling law, è la legge di delegazione, okay?
Okay. It usually sets forth, right, provides, right, or gives a number of principles and guidelines in the enabling law that have to be complied with, and also the time range for doing so. So the time range in which they have to do this, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Legislative, or we can say legislative or legislative. I say legislative decrees have the force of law as set forth by the Constitution and enter into force 15 days after their publication. Of course, there are matters that cannot be delegated to other authorities and have to be dealt with by Parliament. And here you have this idea of
riserva di legge. But we don't have time to go into that, do we?
I think it's a bit too specific, but you can say something. It's okay.
Yeah, well, what I can tell you is that, scusate, okay. But what you can use for riserva di legge is the rule of law requirement. That is, I'll write it down. Rule of law requirement. Riserva di legge. Okay?
Okay. Yes.
We could go into that, but we don't have time, because if you want to do the listening.
We probably won't have time to do all of the listening, because I realize there may be a technical limitation that may create problems. Because they won't be able to look at the transcript while they're watching it. We can try to show them the video anyway. But you can finish.
Show them the video. Anyway, I would say we could. This is just to give you an idea of what we're going to do during the course. And now Michael is going to show you a listening comprehension, right?
Okay, I'm going to show you. Okay, so I started talking about listening and how difficult it is to understand spoken English. And that remains a problem, not just for beginner students or intermediate students, but understanding spoken English in context remains difficult, even for very, very advanced students. Okay, it's a very difficult thing, and it has to do with the way that English is spoken, the way that certain words are stressed and other ones are reduced, and you just have to practice more. And that's something we're going to do in the course. We're going to focus a lot on listening comprehension skills. And, listening comprehension skills specifically for legal English, right? So finding videos that have to do with, as we will see, the type of people that work in a courtroom, right? And what those people do, or the people that work in the law in general. On this slide, as a beginning, as a warm-up for, who we can find in the courtroom, or the court players. The court players in this case being an old word referring to actors, right? So people who are on the stage, right? So here we have some vocabulary that you can see on the slide, right? So we have that general term again, right, that we talked about, and here we have it in more detail. So a lawyer, right, is a general term for a person who practices or studies law. An attorney or a counselor in the US, solicitor or barrister in the UK. In the US, a lawyer can be litigating or non-litigating. So, if you're a lawyer, you can cover both of the roles. So litigating means you go to court, non-litigating means you don't go to court. And we told you earlier that in England and Wales, the UK is a bit of a simplification. A solicitor generally does not represent clients in court, while a barrister does. But the difference is greater than that. But as we said, we already talked about this, and we will talk about this in more detail when we start the actual course. A justice of the peace is a non-professional, or we use the word lay, right? Laico, right? Lay magistrate who is appointed to hear minor cases, to grant licenses like a wedding or a marriage license or a fishing or hunting license. Also can perform a marriage in the United States, in a town, county, or other local district. A magistrate, and now this is also a sort of false friend, because a magistrate, especially in England and Wales, is a civil officer who administers the law and who conducts a court that deals with minor offenses, right? And holds preliminary hearings for more serious ones. So be careful. If you tell somebody from England that you're a magistrate, and you are a magistrate, or you know somebody, or let's imagine you are in court representing a client and you want to talk about the judge, right? In Italian, the magistrato, but the judge in this case is, be careful, you talk about a judge, not a magistrate. A notary or notary public is a person who is authorized to perform certain legal formalities, especially to draw up or certify contracts. Deeds, right, is when you buy land or a house, and other documents for use in other jurisdictions. Be careful, a notary public in Italy has a very different role than the notary in, say, the United States. A mediator is a person who attempts to make those involved in a conflict come to an agreement in mediation or an alternative dispute resolution, right? ADR, you can write ADR, alternative, can you write it? ADR, alternative dispute resolution. A paralegal is a person who's trained in subsidiary legal matters, but not a fully qualified as a lawyer, and provides support to solicitors and barristers in a variety of ways in law firms, chambers, and in the private, public sector, and not-for-profit organizations. And they have a pretty big role in finding, for example, gathering evidence, working on depositions. I don't know. Anyway, I won't go. But if any of you have seen The Good Wife, which was a really favorite TV show of mine, there was a very good paralegal. What was her name? Do you remember her name? Kalinda. Kalinda was a very good paralegal, and she she was very interesting. So the chartered accountant, right, on the other, can audit accounts and provide information about financial records. Now, these are useful words, what you do, the people who are involved in a legal case. But we wanted to do a listening comprehension based on a video from, it's available on YouTube, which I'll show you in a minute. In the classroom, we would give you an exercise to do. So you would have this paper here with the gaps to complete, right? And then you would have to listen and complete the gaps. We cannot really do that because this is being broadcast or live cast on YouTube. So I really think you should take a moment to read this transcript, right? Read. So Shakespeare once said, "All the world's a stage." Take 1 minute or 2 minutes and read as much as you can. And then we will listen, and you will try to listen for the missing words. As I said, at the moment, I cannot... regia, potete spostare un po' la pagina? Grazie. I saw that it's cut on the left-hand side. We saw that. Just wait 1 minute before, and so you can read it better. I don't know why it's cut off, but it's cut off. It starts out with Shakespeare once said. Maybe we can look at it together while it's still cut off. So Shakespeare once said, "All the world's a stage, and all the people merely players," right? So this video is court players. I'm not going to read the next one. It's it's supposed to be funny, and you will, when you see the video, you will see, but it's not that important because it's not legal English. Regarding the stage and players, okay, now you should be able to see it. I see now on the live streaming that you can see it. So regarding the stage and players, however, the same could be said for court. A court without players, after all, is just a room that could use some feng shui. You know, the feng shui is a Chinese philosophy about how to arrange public spaces or arrange personal spaces, and to get good energy, positive energy, negative energy. So they're joking once again, right? So you could use some feng shui, but a room nonetheless. So in this case, and if you're going to represent yourself in a blank, you need to know all the players and their roles. Let's start with the parties involved in the blank. We would listen, and we're going to do that now. We listen for these particular words, which are all legal words, okay? And I would just like to try with you a little bit of this video, and to make things easier because you're watching this on YouTube, I think I would prefer to show you with the subtitles. So I'm going to leave, I have to get out of my slideshow for a minute, and I'm going to share with you a video, and you're going to listen to this video in just 1 minute. And if you could be patient, I think we will find it. 1 second. Sorry. They know that I'm a 56-year-old man. Sorry. So on YouTube. It's crazy, right? Yes. You can't empty your, yes. Okay. Isn't that funny? Okay. So I'm going to share this with you now. And I'm going to now share with you this with the, okay. And I'm going to share with you this video, and we're just going to watch it with the subtitles. Let's make sure that they can see it at home before we do this. I will turn the volume down. We need to go through the ad, and as we're waiting for it to, okay, we've got that now. And regia, faccio una prova se si sente o meno, ok? Speriamo, ok.
All the world's a stage.
Si sente? Okay, so if we were doing this in the classroom or in a smaller group, we would not give you the subtitles, right? But in this case, we're going to give you the subtitles just to show you how watching videos on YouTube or watching videos on other sources can be very useful to help your English, okay? So we will just watch this video. It's 2 minutes, 38 seconds, so we have just enough time. We will watch the video. We won't be able to answer your questions, right? But watch this video, and you can also look for it later if you want to watch it again.
Shakespeare once said, all the world's a stage, and all the people merely players. He also said, mine eyes smell onions. True story. Regarding the stage and players, however, the same could be said for court. A court without the players, after all, is just a room. A room that could use some feng shui, but a room nonetheless. And if you're going to represent yourself in a court case, you need to know all the players and their roles. Let's start with the parties involved in the lawsuit. Those that are doing the suing or accusing are called plaintiffs. Those that are being sued or accused are called defendants. From there, naturally comes the lawyers representing each party. Now, you may be representing yourself, but chances are your opponent isn't. They may have one.
Keep in mind, and I think you have already realized this is referring to civil law, but it doesn't matter. I mean, we will be dealing with civil and criminal law.
Or more lawyers on their team, which is something Legal U can help you face. There is, of course, no case without a judge. When court is in session, the judge rules the courtroom from the bench. Sometimes the judge will hold hearings in a meeting room called chambers. In civil cases, if they're not settled up front, the judge will set a trial. Then, potentially, a jury comes into play. Each party has a right to ask for a jury in this trial. If that right is waived, then the judge will decide the case by herself. In either scenario, witnesses may be called to give testimony on the facts and issues of the case at hand. Depending on who calls the witness, they can be labeled either the plaintiffs or the defendants.
Okay, very sorry, but we have to stop, right? We have to interrupt this because we've run out of time. That's amazing. You know, we've run out of time, and you know we're gonna stop. So we thank you. Now, this gave you an idea in general, right, about what
we're going to do with
what
you.
we're going to do with you and what what will happen in the course, right? So I think at this point we can end and await the next meeting, right? And maybe Sergio can say something if he wants to, and go Sergio if you want to say something.
Ok, torniamo allora in Italia, gentilissimi colleghi. Credo che abbiate avuto un'idea, insomma, di come si potrebbe svolgere il corso. Abbiamo anche saggiato le capacità didattiche dei nostri teachers, che come avete visto sono coinvolgenti, sono comunque legati anche all'esperienza italiana, quindi conoscono un po' quelli che possono essere i dubbi. Ci siamo anche un po' divertiti con l'argomento dei false friends, probabilmente uno dei più utilizzati è sentence, secondo me. In ogni caso continuiamo a essere disponibili anche dopo questo incontro. Chiunque voglia poi approfondire o porre delle altre domande, io metterò adesso sulla chat l'indirizzo mail personale. Ci rivedremo con qualcuno di voi o anche nuovi colleghi il 23 per una
venerdì, sì.
la seconda lezione. Magari affronteremo più in là anche degli argomenti più specifici. Necessariamente questa era una lezione introduttiva in cui davamo delle indicazioni di carattere generale, poi entreremo anche nella contrattualistica, quella che a noi interessa ovviamente maggiormente, senza tralasciare ovviamente l'inglese di base. Avete sentito che abbiamo affrontato anche argomenti di grammatica, perché poi è importante esprimersi non soltanto in un inglese giuridico, ma sia anche un inglese corretto. Io vi do il saluto e i ringraziamenti ancora al Consiglio dell'Ordine, alla collega Cristina Tamburro, e vi do appuntamento, vi diamo tutti noi appuntamento al 23, seguirà la locandina che verrà pubblicata nei prossimi giorni. Spero vi sia interessato, è stato di vostro interesse. Spero di rivedervi prossimamente. Un saluto a tutti.
Bye bye.
Bye.
See you in 2 weeks.
Yep.